PNC Filter is back. Today we're going to be taking a look at an interesting video. I'm sure you guys might have heard, but Columbia University lost all of its federal funding.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That was one of the biggest cases of having a Hamas encampment and the school supporting it. I'm pretty sure it was at Columbia where the students were like, we need DoorDash. We need you guys to let DoorDash in so we can get like food and water. And like they had the water fountains running. Like they were like complaining about the amenities when they were on campus, like using the school's resources. It was wild. But
Wait, they didn't let DoorDash on campus?
it was because they had a whole protest going on, and so they weren't allowing people to go through like these like sectioned off areas to get to the protesters. And then they're like, I want my DoorDash. It's like, bro, all right.
Where did that dude who just got booted from the country go?
Who?
You know what I'm talking about? There's like a whole big uproar about this guy who was he was involved in a terrorist organization.
Have you noticed the dilemma that higher?
And he was calling for the demise of Western civilization, and he was an immigrant in the country, so they deported him. People were like complaining about it.
Oh, I think I heard about that. I don't know what happened to him though. Should have gotten executed in the streets.
We're back with our boy here.
Yeah, this is my guy right here. Looking with a fresh hat.
Bro, he's always got the fits.
Dude, he's stizzy.
Education is in. Recently, the Trump administration cut off $400 million in federal grants and aids to Columbia University for its inability to stop rampant, overt, and shameless anti-Semitism on the campus. For a long
I thought you said you liked this, Pete.
This is a reaction. I haven't watched this yet.
He's on the fence.
You guys see the dilemma I'm going through? If you have a brain that works properly, you know what dilemma is in my head right now.
I know what it is.
Wait a second. Where's all the federally funded schools that are not getting funding anymore for anti-white racism? That's more rampant than anti-Semitism.
I don't know. The anti-Semitism thing is pretty crazy because there's actually people that like attack like Jewish students on campus and like harass them that haven't done anything wrong. You know what I mean? So like it's actually kind of out of control. I'm not, super informed on this specific university, but I've definitely seen some crazy stuff.
Columbia was the place where a student was like not able to get to class because like the Hamas protesters were like doing this whole defense. They were like stopping them from getting to class. There was a Jewish professor that wasn't able to get to class. Yeah, I mean that's happening. I forgot who said this. I know I stopped so early, but it's like, guys, I didn't know this is why they didn't get the funding. All right.
You see, I think that's unacceptable. I don't think they should be doing that.
What's unacceptable?
Stopping a professor from getting to class just because he's Jewish?
Yeah, I think that's unacceptable.
Okay, I'm glad you agree with that. That was a 50-50 ball for me. I didn't know where you were leaning on that.
See, guys, you see what I deal with? This guy just thinks I'm like, I can't even say the word because this is going on YouTube too, and they keep copywriting everything. I don't want to get kicked off. All right, but
yeah, we won't go to.
I'm like Fourth Reich situation when really I just have an expert pattern recognizing brain over here, dog. I'm a pattern recognizer, man.
You said I think you're the Fourth Reich. Who? All right, let me ask you a question. Who was the bad guy in World War II? You see what I deal with, people? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? He's like, let me think. I don't know. It's not Hitler.
Who would you say? Who would you say the bad guys are?
All right, I think Stalin and Hitler are the two bad guys.
Who is worse?
I think that's objectively correct.
Wait, were they the only bad guys, or were they just the biggest bad guys?
They were the biggest bad guys. I think Winston Churchill did some sus stuff. I don't look at him as a hero, like a lot of people do, but I'd probably say Hitler was the worst. He was the most evil.
I heard a report that Churchill gave false information to the German government through one of his like allies about the Lusitania, I think it was, and that was the British boat that was sunk by the Germans, or was it the American? It was a boat for the Allies that got sunk by the Germans, but I heard that Churchill gave the Germans bad information about that boat and said it was carrying either is either really strong weapons or something like that. But okay, Churchill, he was half Jewish, by the way. I got some issues with Churchill. Um, the bad guys, I mean, obviously Stalin was worse than Hitler. That's no question. I mean, what are we talking about? He was a communist that allowed millions to starve, killed people, and took them out of pictures to act like they never existed, sent people out to islands that weren't inhabited to starve them to death and forgot they were there. That's so crazy. He sent people out to islands like work like island work camps or whatever it was, just to like get them off the
Mhm.
island because they were against the administration or whatever. And he just forgot they were there. And when they pulled back up with a boat, it was like only like a third or a fourth of the people left. Everyone else was like starving to death. Um,
Yeah, well, I'd lean towards Hitler just because he was kind of trying to take over the world. There's that. I don't think Stalin Stalin was never trying to take. I mean, he was a bad guy. Don't get me wrong. I think the death tolls are definitely higher in Russia than what Germany was doing with the Jews. But they were kind of trying to take over the world. And if Russia didn't join in to help stop them, then they probably would have. So I have to give Russia 1 point for that.
would you rather
Um,
be speaking German right now or have, multiculturalism?
mm,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there we go.
German's kind of an ugly language, so
It is a brutal kind of like, yeah, language for sure.
I do like the Constitution as well. So I don't know.
Guys,
He
we're
had
gonna keep it
plans to take
rolling,
over the
but
Americas. He
you
had
said
plans to
what?
take over the Americas. That's undeniable.
But that's what I'm saying.
Hitler
Like,
did.
would you rather be speaking German or have the problems we have today? I mean,
I'd
uh,
rather have the problems we have today. I think they're minuscule
I think he
in
misunderstands what's
comparison.
going on right now. He's gonna see in like 20 years. He's gonna call me up. He's gonna be like, "Dude, you're right. The Jew took my loan out and gave me a 30% interest rate, and it bumped in last year, and now I'm broke, and now I'm gonna kill
I don't
myself."
I don't take loans. I got big bands.
Bro's got big
Hate to
bands.
break
Get
it
it
to
rolling.
you.
Long time, the university has decided it's partisan, it's political, and it's left wing, and it's proud of it. It's widespread in higher education, and the country's been appalled by it. But for some reason, higher education seems to equate Jewish Americans, and by definition, Israel, with the white oppressor side of their Marxist binary.
Is that true?
What's he talking about? He said they're white
So here's the
oppressor
thing.
side.
I think it's probably right. The far left and the far right don't like Jews. You go to the middle and it's kind of like, eh. But you go far on either end and they don't like Jews. Maybe that's true.
Yeah, it's unfair. They have an unfair advantage.
Wait a second. But that explains the controlled opposition thing. But that I was telling you about earlier.
Here we go.
Were we on
Let's
the
go.
thing last? Were you on the stream last night talking about that?
You might have been.
Yeah, that's right. So that would make sense. So if really extreme ideologies, left and right, don't like Jews because they're willing to say whatever like comes to their mind as far as like what they're seeing in history and in just different political arenas and philosophies and theologies of different groups, that they might be more willing to say that. And maybe that's why, the Daily Wire is, has all this exposure, but like lesser known people are getting pushed off the wayside that are further to the right that are willing to criticize Israel. And that was the whole uproar with the Daily Wire and Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and the guy who was just on Joe Rogan talking about Assad. Just a thought. Moderates don't really care about Jews as much, I don't think.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal.
Victor.
Have you noticed the dilemma that higher education is in? Recently, the Trump administration cut off $400 million in federal grants and aids to Columbia University for its inability to stop rampant, overt, and shameless anti-Semitism on the campus. It's widespread in higher education, and the country's been appalled by it. But for some reason, higher education seems to equate Jewish Americans, and by definition Israel, with the white oppressor side of their Marxist binary, which is non-white oppressed versus white oppressor. What I'm getting at is it's almost as if people who chase Jewish students down, scream at them, yell anti-Semitic epithets, disrupt their classes, have a free pass because they're self-described diversity, equity, inclusion students.
Ooh.
There's other things that are going on that are even more serious, though. For a long time, the university has decided that it will make no more pretense that it's disinterested. It's partisan, and it's political, and it's left-wing, and it's proud of it. We can see that in the way that speakers are treated at campus. If you go to a campus as an invited speaker and you speak in any fashion to express doubts about abortion on demand, transgenderism in general, New Green Deal, unlimited support for the Ukraine war, you may find yourself the object of student disruptions. We've had one recently at Stanford University. We've had the law school disrupted by students who tried to shout down a federal judge, but that's not unique. It's everywhere. The university also believes that it's not subject to the 1964 and 1965 civil rights statutes. By that I mean they have instituted racial, gender, and sexual orientation bias in admissions, promotions, hiring.
DEI, dog. Get that shit out of here.
Am I pro DEI? Because here's the thing. No. All right.
Oh, what are we talking about?
All right. I'm going to be fair. I
What
am
are we talking about?
I'm really anti DEI, but I'm pro. I'm what you might call a white Christian nationalist. So I personally think that because the history of America is that Western European Christian ethic, we can't divulge or separate that from the ethnicity that was generally understood as American from way back when. And so the question is, do we support the out group? Like, think about the heat map study that was done, and it was widely misinterpreted, but in general, it is how most people understand it, that left-wing people allocate more moral units to people outside of their social circle, like people that are further away in proximity. If we're actual conservatives, if we're temperamentally conservatives, shouldn't we want to advantage those closest to us? And again, that wouldn't be white people first, but it would be like your close family, your close friends, your close associates, people in your city, all that kind of thing. But wouldn't that mean people of your race before other races? Think about how black people are super collectivist and super identitarian in how they look at race. Like they're like, oh, I'm black. Like I support blacks. Support black businesses like on Amazon and all this shit. And Jews really support Jews. You know that.
And white nationalists really support whites.
Wait, what? Say it again.
I said, and white nationalists really support whites.
Yeah, but not a lot of people are white nationalists because it's a buzzword. You can't be that because you're evil if you believe that for some reason. When every other group in America already acts that way.
I think there's a conversation to be had where, we condone all these other people, being, preferential towards people like them. I think there is, if that is going to be the case, then yeah, there should be a door open for people to want to help other white people, but I'm not sure we necessarily even need it. And I don't think that there should be any preferential treatment in the process at all. I think it should be purely merit-based.
Yeah, well, there should be none, but it's going to happen. That's human nature. That's part of the whole socialist misunderstanding of human nature where it's like, oh, we can all be perfect someday. No, people are going to like the in group more than the out group, no matter what they are. You really think that's that? That's an unalienable trait.
I think it's a matter of laws. You know what I mean? People can think whatever they want, but if we get the right laws on the books and we don't allow this shit, then it'll stop.
I mean, still though, like in social interactions and and just discourse in public,
Yeah,
and
but
how people.
that's a whole different conversation, though. I feel like, isn't it?
I think we could legislate based on like a meritocracy where there's no bias. That's definitely the best way to go about it. But when it comes to like practicality, like in day to day interactions that you run into, we know that like black people are gonna have black people's backs, Mexicans are gonna have Mexicans' backs, Jewish people are gonna have Jewish people's backs. White people are just like, oh, we like everyone. We like everyone. Dude, there was a study that showed like how races viewed other races in America, and it was like Hispanics, blacks, Asians, and whites. And it was like your opinion of like your group and then your opinion of these three other groups. And like white people put everyone like basically down the middle, like 50-50, like good, bad. Like if it's over 50, it's good. If it's less than 50, it's bad. And then like Asians put like whites basically on the same level, and then like blacks and Hispanics below. And then blacks the highest by far, and then put like then Hispanics, then Asians, then whites, like way lower, like significantly lower than the blacks. And then Hispanics put like Hispanics first, and then blacks, and then like whites and Asians or something like that. But it was so clear
Right.
that the only group that didn't have a bias towards their own group was white people. I mean, that's because this whole, whites have been really, successful historically. And then that led the door, or it opened the door for some snake oil salesmen to come in, some communist globalist Jews to come in and be like, wait a second, we can take advantage of their empathetic nature and their Christian values and say, hey, you're doing so good, but look, these people are doing really bad over here. Maybe it's your fault they're not doing as good as you. Maybe you're the reason they're doing bad. You should give them more chances. Again, that was affirmative action started for a reason. Like, why do you think affirmative action started around the same time the population boom happened in like the 60s? I mean,
Right, right. I just want to tackle one point where you said this is human nature.
yeah.
I don't know if believe it's human nature. I mean, are you saying that blacks don't have that opinions about whites because of societal programming within their culture? I
Oh,
mean, I
it's
think
definitely part of it.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
you're making a
point.
good point.
That's the whole point.
You're
We
making a
don't
good
have that
point. Yeah,
societal
there is.
programming. That's why we go down the line 50-50. We recognize everybody as individuals and try not to focus on skin color. That's like kind of been the whole conservative movement for the past 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? So
Notice how
it is I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's more of a societal thing than a biological programming. You know what I mean? I would
Wait,
definitely disagree with that.
wait. Do you think the reason whites put everyone basically on the same rung is because of biology or social programming?
Mm, I think it's more of a social awakening that we have. We're predominantly Christian in this country as whites, right? Like most Christians in America are whites. Okay, let's say that, and they think everybody should be equal to a large scale. Most Christians believe that. Then I'm trying to think of. I had another point to make on that.
Well,
But
I think
yeah,
there's
no, I don't think I see what you're saying. You think that whites have been socially programmed to think everybody's equal, where we should think we're better
in
or
the same way,
prioritize
at the
ourselves.
same time that everyone else has been programmed to hate white people. Why do you think the
See,
birth rate's so low right now? The birth rate's
I
low
don't
at the
think.
same time that these have all culminated.
Well, I don't think that we could say that that's ignorance in social programming that caused the blacks to have that point of view, and then say, "Oh, well, we should have it too." No, that's just promoting more ignorance. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so we all have a biological in-group bias. All right. That's just a basic state of affairs. If biologically, anthropologically, all that shit, if you look at someone that looks like you're going to feel more comfortable than if you look at someone that looks way different than you. Okay. That's just basic anthropology, biology. I think that's how it just works in general. It's not like you're
Yeah,
on a set track. You can never change that. But I do think that the social programming has led to whites being like, oh, yeah, I guess we're all equal, huh? And then it pushed that ingrained biology further in all the minorities because that's already something they want to believe if they have performed less successfully than whites in America in the first place. It's a victim mentality. It's an externalizing bias. You're not saying, oh, there's something that we did wrong as a group or something I'm doing wrong as an individual. It's an external factor that's preventing us from being successful. That's an easy out. People love that. I know a lot of people, or I've known a lot of people that love taking easy outs. That's also human nature. I mean, your brain likes to be lazy. I mean,
I mean, I think that might apply to like your friend group. What you were saying about how people of the same race gravitate towards people that are like them. It's like, okay, yeah, there's probably some biological precedent to that, and it probably has to do with there is different cultures between different ethnicities, and they're probably going to gravitate towards wanting to build relationships with those people as compared to somebody who's maybe completely different than them. And that might even depend on like the personality. Some people might want to make friends with people that are different than them, but I don't think that means like that on that poll that you were saying that the white people were wrong for saying that they think all people are equal. I think that's how Jesus would want it, that all people are
so
created equal in the image of God. I don't think.
theologically, that's not what the studies said. Like theologically, everyone is created in God's image. Therefore, everyone has the same intrinsic value. So that means that regardless of what we do, we all have the same value because we have souls and we're made in God's image. But when it
Yeah.
comes to like looking in like an ethical, political sphere, how you rank your your affinity towards or your dislike of a certain group of people, that's separated from saying they have value or not. That's like, I just don't like this group as much as this group. People have those opinions and preferences all the time. And it's just, to me, it's just funny. Like, oh, the white European, Christian group has been brainwashed into saying, oh, we're all equal. We're basically the same. We're basically just the same, just look a little different because we were born in different places. And it's like,
I don't think that
they're,
means that we're the same. I think it's more based than anything, honestly. I think
you
it's
said what?
based.
You
I think
said,
it's based. I
dude,
said it's based.
I wish I could get my boy. I'm not even gonna say his name. Never mind. Let's keep it rolling.
Don Trout.
It's worse even than that. Theme houses, that's the word they use for racially segregated dorms. Safe spaces, that's the word they use for racially set aside zones on campus for particular people of a particular race.
Wait, who are those safe spaces for? They're for anyone that isn't white. It's not even non-Jews. It's non-whites. So what are we? Where's the
Yeah.
He's equivocating. Like,
Yeah, it's
In
crazy.
addition to all of that, there's no protection for anybody, really, to tell you the truth, especially an elite campus. If you're accused of a crime, especially sexual assault, sexual harassment, there's no guarantee that you will be accorded protections under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. All of this is starting to change. We're in a perfect storm as far as higher education. There are fewer students because of declining fertility. Our fertility rate is 1.6. Nationwide. More importantly, people are questioning the value of a higher education degree.
for good reason.
With the onset of diversity, equity, and inclusion therapeutic classes, the old reason to go to the university, to be roundly and disinterestedly educated, disappeared. So students did not get formal instruction in analytics, in English composition, in spoken and written fluency in English, etc., common historical knowledge, math and science literacy. And employers are starting to know it. They're starting to see that if they're going to hire someone from Harvard, Princeton, Yale, or Stanford versus Texas Tech or SMU or Georgia Tech, they're not going to be better prepared. They're probably going to be less well prepared, and they're probably going to go to human resources on the first day of the job. I'm exaggerating, but you can see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there are other forces that don't look good for higher education besides fertility and the questioning among the American people of the quality and value of a bachelor's degree from our elite institutions. We're 1.7 trillion in student debt. And the Trump administration is looking at this. And there are certain recommendations on their horizons as we speak that the university is not prepared for. Number one, the House and the Senate are trying to adjudicate how much they should tax the multi-million-dollar income on many of these multi-billion-dollar endowments. It could be 15 to 20%. We've mentioned cutting off federal funds to universities that do not protect their Jewish students. There's also another factor going on, and that is National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health grants. The federal government is now saying, don't charge us an overhead of 60%, 50%, 40%. You universities don't do that with the Gates Foundation grants or other private sector grants. From now on, you're not going to charge more than a 15% overhead. When you add that radical reduction in surcharges to a possible and likely tax on endowment income, the universities, in many cases, the most prestigious and wealthy, may be looking at $300, $400, $500 million shortfalls in their annual operating budget, besides any punitive action that the federal government exercises because of their unwillingness or inability to protect Jewish students. Do we see any reaction from college presidents? Is there a summit? Is there a sense of urgency? Is there some consensus that we don't charge the federal government more than we do private grant-making institutions? Is there some notion that we should, I don't know, honor the content of our color?
Freudian slip, dog. Wait a second. Let's run that back.
We should, I don't know, honor the content of our color.
Yep, that's right. Folks, that's all I have for you today.
The
He
content
proved
of
my
our
point. You see, me and the fedora guy are on the same page. He knows exactly
right,
what we're talking about.
Let us know if you're with Pete and we should focus on the content of our color, or if you're with the base gang and you like character. I'm a character kind of guy. So
Listen, you can have
it down in
color
the
and
comments.
character. You can't have character without color. All right,
You can't be human without color, dog.
dude. Do you think is white a color?
Yeah, it's definitionally a color.
Yeah, it is. it's a combination. It was Isaac Newton that found this out. Isaac Newton created differential calculus and integral calculus just to solve this problem of light waves and the color white, and found out that
he did it when he was
white
like
as a
he
color.
did it whenever he
combines,
found out
all
whenever he
the
was
other
like
colors.
he found out when he was like 23 too.
Yeah, he was younger than 25.
Like solved the laws of thermodynamics at like 16 or some shit. I saw it Neil deGrasse Tyson short on this.
Yeah, dude discovered differential and integral calculus before he was 25. Oh, God. We got to turn
He's the
up, dude. We
best
got to get this moving.
All time. Bro, it makes me feel like a failure.
All right, guys, let us know. Are we